I think you'll get to a certain position and then you'll spend a lot of resources just maintaining it. Very different than like a traditional sort of MMO RPG where you sort of work your way through the levels and then it's like, okay, what's my end game right now? Okay, I go kill the Lich King. All right, what do I do after this? All right, I put it away and wait for the next expansion. So this isn't. It's like you become. I mean, the moment you become the fat cat, you know, you're the big kingpin. You've got a bunch of people working for you. You know, there's a bunch of other people out there trying to take you down because that's the real world. So and that's kind of the goal. So I'm more focused on systems that will do that and creating sort of things to fight over that you'll definitely have multiple groups interested and be struggling each other for. So it's not only just achieving the thing, but keeping your position is essentially the end game. I mean, for me, I think that kind of defines Eve pretty well. Like, you know, Eve is not traditional compared to the other MMOs. It basically doesn't really have an end game per se. It's basically all these different factions that vie for power, influence, control, fight with each other in the galaxy. And, you know, they've been doing it, you know, for 10 years now. And I think that's part of one of the reasons the success of theirs is it's more in the hands of the players and less dependent on like specific scripted content or bosses that are added.
Right. Another question I was thinking of here just now is if a gamer, say, has to take an extended leave of absence from the game because their computer dies and they can't afford another rig or whatever happens, they just can't play, and they have responsibilities in the game, obviously, for their insurance, for maybe other hangars they have on planets that they're renting, is there a way to suspend their account so they don't get, you know, evicted from their other hangars and their ships just are thrown out of them? Or
oh no, they're not going to get so like in that it's basically based around you playing, right? So if you like you docked on a planet and you come back like 4 months later, you don't come back and like there was eviction notices and all your ships are there. It's just when you start playing again, you'll owe to re-up your insurance or whatever. So you won't lose anything. You could walk away for a year or whatever, and you can come back and you won't have lost anything. It's just once you get back into playing it, you have to basically be paying for your, to keep your ships, serviced, upkeep, all that sort of stuff, landing fees, tariffs, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. And so another question here I thought was interesting. Somebody was asking about planets orbiting. So will a planet always be in the exact same location in a system, or will it move at all and be able to track that?
That's a good question. That's an internal debate we've had. I think we're sort of falling down on the side of it is cool, but it's like so intangible that it's going to be sort of hard for a player to really realize the benefit of it. So at the moment, we're probably not going to do that because everything's sort of like I have a nav map or whatever, and I'm going to go to planets. Like my nav map would be intelligent enough to know that the planet's in this particular, orbit and doing all the rest. So unless something like completely, knocked that out of whack, you wouldn't really know. Other than if I guess the question would be if there was a jump point that was stationary and it wasn't kind of moving a relative to a planet, that could have an effect. But right now we're sort of thinking that that's like a level of fidelity that's cool to talk about, but no player's ever going to appreciate it.
Right.
Which is probably not going to implement
it. That makes it hard to work on it, in which case. I've seen this question come up a lot with the, Idris coming back for sale. People have been asking if the Vanduul Scythe will fit into it.
No, it won't fit into it.
All right. There you go, guys. Now you know.
Well, I mean, if you look at the pictures on the site, you'll see that the Hornet barely fits in the hangar. So it's a pretty snug fit. So you can have the Vanduul Scythe definitely fits inside the Bengal carrier. In fact, I can't remember if I did it in the demo I did, but you could definitely. I used to fly a Hornet, go to a little platform, get out, get into the Vanduul Scythe, fly it around, and then land back on the Bengal. But it's got these the wings, and they fold up, and you need a fair amount of vertical clearance, and you don't have that inside the Corvette. It's a pretty snug fit. So you can't fit anything bigger than a Hornet.
Right. And also, as I know it's been talked to death, but a lot of people are asking, and I assume there's a lot of new ones, they're asking about the PvP system, and if you are not as inclined to play PvP, what options do they have?
So the the way the game works is we're simulating the whole universe with AI running around, and there'll be a lot more AI, the equivalent of a lot more AI agents than we'll ever have any concurrent players in the game. And when real players drop in, they basically are kicking out an AI out of his slot. So, if there's trading happening between planets, missions have been generated for that, and AI is taking them, and if players are in there, we'll just take those. And so in terms of the sort of PvP or the PvE side of it, I actually think that most people will fly the game, and there will be a pretty, you'll feel kind of a personal experience, like a sort of more privateer or freelancer experience, but there'll be these ships flying around doing their stuff, and they could be AI, or they could be real players. And then as if your preference is, say, more for PvE instead of PvP, you can specify that in the game, and then when it's doing the dynamic instant matchmaking, especially in the safe areas, it will basically use that as one of the criteria, and generally, either put non-hostile players or hostile AI against you in the safe areas. When you're in the outer areas of the galaxy where there's no particular law and order, then anything goes, and if there's a player and another player, the game will put them together over an AI. So essentially, if you want to do more PvE, you sort of set it up that way, and you stick to sort of the safer areas, or areas that you're going to be fighting more AI. And then if you want to do more PvP, if you move it more to that side of the slider, the game will be matchmaking you with other people that prefer to do PvP, and has a whole bunch of other criteria. So it has criteria of who's your friend, who's your enemies, who you designate as a person of interest, also what the ping is. So all that gets sort of factored into one big equation that sort of matches it's like Match.com. It sort of figures out all the different criteria and say, oh, you two would be good in an instance together, and puts it in. And so basically, if someone says, no, I'd rather do more PvE, that reduces their chances of being matched up with someone that's a more PvP player that would be hostile to them in a safe area. So if someone's not going to be hostile to them, then you would see players going about their business. So what I'm hoping is it will be an environment that will let people play sort of a more privateer or freelancer style and feel kind of safe, and not feeling like someone's just going to gank them within 3 seconds. But of course, there'll be areas where, if you go to, there'll be certain areas where you go and it's more lawless, and there'll definitely be items or things to get out there that will be worth the risk. But the risk of that is that also you potentially, you're not going to have people to, you're not going to have the UE military to watch your back, and you may have players after you and all the rest of the stuff. So it'll be sort of a risk versus reward thing, and I'm hoping that because it's all in one holistic system, that you can sort of encourage players to sort of put their, say someone that's a PvE player could say, you know what, it's not so bad. Maybe I'll venture a bit more and try a bit more of this PvP, and they can sort of dial it up a bit and put their toe into it without feeling like they jump into it and suddenly 400 people jump in and blast them. I think we're going to have enough people in our community that are both PvP and PvE, that as a PvP player wanting just straight PvP, you're going to have plenty of people to fight against, and you won't even know that there's some people that would rather do PvE that were flying around in the kind of same instance you're in. So I don't know if that made sense, but that's kind of what the concept of design is.
Well, at least makes sense to me, but I'm hoping everybody else understands it too. Now, one of the things I know that's been talked about, which I love, the fact that a pirate can spoof their identity to look innocent when they may not be, to try to avoid the police or the UEE. So now if I'm a trader and I know I have to go through a particularly dangerous spot, is there a way I could reverse spoof my ID to look more on the side of the pirate or the mercenaries that may want to take my items?
So hang on. So what you're saying is you're a legitimate, you're a nice person, but you're trading in the dangerous areas, and so you want to spoof your ID to basically look like some badass pirate, so people leave you alone.
You want to pull a Serenity, strap a few bodies to the bow.
Exactly what I was thinking. That was what was in my head.
Well, no, I mean definitely. I think you should. There's no reason why the spoofing's only about spoofing for a nice harmless ship. I mean, I'm sure you'll be able to sort of, if you go to the right place, you can kind of get the right sort of plates. But I mean, generally, what the spoofing is about is sort of having a clean record, right? So it's if the advocacy or sort of the military says, scans you and it says, oh, this person's got no criminal record, then I'll pass on through. Whereas, if they actually got your real ID, then they would realize that you're a pretty bad pirate and they should be going after you.
Awesome. So with the recent, I would say, confirmation of there being a commanding style system you can add into your ships, or that some come with, is there going to be any kind of a picture-in-picture system you guys can implement so that if I have so many ships fighting under my command, could I view their angle of the battle from them, or do you have any other plan, like just looking at a star map and looking at them flying around as dots?
I think so. I'm not sure that you're gonna get basically sort of like pilot cam views of the people that you're commanding in your screen. That's a performance issue because having multiple angles on the same scene with that kind of polygonal count makes it pretty hard. And also, we just got a lot of other things going on. So what's going to happen is you'll be controlling your holosphere, and the holosphere, like, you can get in and you can probably see the wireframe of the ships and them moving around. So it would be sort of like commanding, I don't know, Ender's Game style. You can click and say you attack that one and go from there. We are going to try and also have some support for sort of third-party viewing of battles. So maybe, I guess, if you had like a second machine, you could maybe be streaming a client view that would be more a camera view of it. But right now, the CryEngine is actually not very good at multiple cameras all in the same scene. So it's not set up, and that would also be a bit of a frame rate killer. What's that?
We got 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Yeah.
So what's happening in 10 minutes?
10 minutes till we're going to roll another cut.
Okay.
And then we got another interview lined up.
Awesome. I just love the way that with me to the phone here.
But don't you love answering our questions? Come on, you've only answered some of these 100 times.
I actually do. I actually have a good amount of fun answering the questions, and then also, actually, it was at the Spanish community, right?
Yeah.
This next one, yeah. And it's good. It's good design because everyone with this many people, there's all these different aspects that really have answers for. But typically, when you're designing and we don't have in the past when you didn't have engagement with a community this big, you basically sort of did it internally. You sort of like a lot of stuff would actually not have been figured out until almost too late. You go to beta and everyone's like, well, what happens when I do this? What happens when I do this? Oh, I didn't think of that one. So it's actually kind of good to talk it out, and talking out a system like that is actually I'm pretty lazy. I hate writing really big design documents up. So it's much better at like discussing the various features, and then like Rob can transcribe it.
Good job, Rob. I believe in you. I hope you're listening.
Oh yeah, well, this is all going to be recorded, so I mean.
So we can go back and we can just find this part in this interview here and just say, Rob, see, this is what you're committed to now. Love it. Well, that and the bacon. Don't forget about the bacon part. I got to see my bacon. Possibly a George Foreman grill on my desk.
Yes.
Well, that is wonderful. Let's see here. If anybody else has a last-minute question, I can get in for you while we got a little bit of time. Oh, let's see here. Anybody got a good question out there?
So much
Thank you for stopping by. Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Are you taking iPad?
Steam. Steam is a good question. I'm assuming you're going to try to get it on Steam.
Yeah. We're kind of platform agnostic as far as that goes. So when we have the sort of final game, we'll probably be on Steam and probably on some other digital distribution platforms too, and of course our own website and stuff.
That is wonderful. Let's see if I can get another one here. Oh, it's moving so fast. How many Idrises will be available in the game? Do they have a limit, kind of like the limit on the Bengal carriers?
Yeah, no. I think we're kind of like we sort of opened it up again because we had a lot more players now, people than we realized, or we thought we were going to have back when we did it. But I kind of want to keep the ratio of Bengals to like people playing to like 0.01%. So it's kind of where we're sort of at.
Very good. Yeah, not something you really want flying around every single corner where everybody has one.
It looks like Eric's telling me he's catching a couple hours sleep at the office. Spell office puffis.
It's that moonshine. Can't have none of that moonshine.
Batteries on channel 6.
Oh, the Freelancer's coming up a lot. Do we have anything on the Freelancer coming up tonight?
No, we don't, I believe, have anything on the Freelancer. But the Freelancer is actually nearing the later stages of production in engine, and it's looking pretty cool. So it's going to be. So we're going to, that won't be too far down the road, having a full-on reveal the same way we did with 300i with a commercial and a really detailed brochure.
Yeah. All right. I'll do 2 more. I'll back them back to back, and you can answer them hopefully shortly, and we can call it good. So, is the Hangar module still on schedule? And I know this has been horribly contested, and I know a lot of Linux users, and this will probably be somewhat hated. But is Linux in anywhere still in your mind?
Yes. So, which one do you want? Hangar module is still on schedule, so we're pretty confident that we'll be releasing something that everyone will get to play. I won't guarantee that there won't be like glitches and crashes when it first comes out, because that's the nature of the beast, because we're so early with the stuff. But that's why we're doing it, is to iron it all out. But yeah, we feel pretty confident about the Hangar module at the end of August for Gamescom, and then we'll be iterating on it. So it's not just this is it. It'll be like we'll be doing, I can't remember what our schedule is, Travis. Is it like every 9 weeks or something? I can't remember. 9 week, and 9 week later we're doing another iteration and another iteration. So we'll probably have 2 iterations in before we release the dogfight. The same will be happening on dogfight. So all these modules have drops where we'll add more content, we'll add some more functionality. So the ability to invite your friends to the Hangar, I don't think is going to be in the V1. You're the keeper. You're on our side schedule-wise. Is that right, Travis? I think we're not getting the ability to invite people to your Hangar in V1 on the Hangar.
No, that's
V2.
V2 or later, yeah.
So so some of those features come online later. So it's on schedule. And then remind me, what was the second part of the question?
Linux.
The second part was Linux.
So I think that Linux and Mac owners will be happily surprised when we can make an announcement that we can't just make yet.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. I'm pretty sure. Are we out of time, or can one of these guys get in another question here?
I'm sure you have a little bit more for a question. I don't know when we start the...
Yeah, we got a little bit more.
A few more.
Got a little bit more. Okay, so I know it's been beaten to death, and maybe this is your time that you can finally kill it, because we're all tired of hearing about it. But some people are still concerned about pay to win as being a model, which I know it's not, and a lot of people are face palming. But there's a lot of new people, so I'm hoping this can kill it once and for all.
Well, I won't kill it once and for all, because it's been a debate since the beginning. I just think people, the problem is everybody's coming at it from an angle, like, yes, I get like World of Tanks, or I get League of Legends, where you can have arguments about pay to win, because the only thing you can do in that game is you get into basically head-to-head matches competitively, and there is one winner. But that's not really Star Citizen. Star Citizen is an open sandbox, and there's like, what's your definition of winning? Some person, it will be like, okay, I'm going to be the best, dogfighter. The other guy's like, I'm the best, explorer. Someone's else like, oh, like, I want to be the best, long distance, cargo hauler. I mean, there's all these different angles. It's just like, in the real world, what's your definition of a winner, right? I mean, you can have a whole bunch of different definitions of someone that's like successful or a winner. And I think that's partly one of the reasons why I think it's a kind of really silly thing. It's like, I saw this whole thing where everyone's like, oh, the 350 hours limited, and let's pay to win because I won't be able to get that in the game. It's limited. Well, that doesn't, first of all, it is going to be available in the game. But second of all, like, that's actually, the 350R isn't like necessarily your best dogfighting. I mean, yes, it may be great for like going really fast, but going against another ship, it could potentially lose because it may not match up well. I mean, it's completely rock, paper, scissors. It's also got to do with how good of a pilot you are. And so generally, what I hear when people complain about, I mean, my definition of pay to win, which I know isn't everyone else's, but my definition of pay to win, and the thing I don't like, is when I play a game and I can only ever get that item by paying money. Right? And the game sort of figures out a way to force me into a situation where I've got to pay money to get something. So as long as I can earn all the items in the game by just playing it, and I can, get something like basically paid for convenience, which is essentially, hey, I don't have 30 hours a week or 40 hours a week to be playing this game, and but I really want to be flying a Constellation this weekend because I want to pimp out in style. Well, that for me is paid convenience if the guy that spends 30 or 40 hours can earn it for free himself. And, you're basically just making a trade-off. Time versus money is the age-old trade-off, and we've got plenty of people that don't have 30 or 40 hours. I mean, basically the pay-to-win argument when this comes down to it is people that have 30 or 40 hours don't have a job and can spend more time doing it, and they're saying, okay, well, that's unfair. And I mean, you could make the reverse argument saying, well, isn't it kind of unfair for the people that don't have 30 or 40 hours that they're disadvantaged too? So as far as I'm concerned, either way kind of balances it. One way you sort of can shortcut some of the time you put in, other way you shortcut some of the money you put in. But at the end of the day, it's all to do with your skill as a pilot and how you balance up your ship. And that's only for combat. I mean, like I said, for all these other things, exploring, trading, or whatever, again, what's your definition of winning? And by the way, if you spend 30 or 40 hours playing the game and someone else went and spent some money on the constellation and you go up head, odds are you'll probably beat that guy because you've played it a lot more and you're a better pilot. So for me, my definition of pay to win is a game that you can only get like in World of Tanks. They said they're not pay to win, but you can still only buy premium tanks with money, and premium tanks give you a faster experience gain, and the experience gain gives you an advantage in combat. So you're actually getting an advantage for something you'd pay for, whereas and you can't get that premium tank by earning it in the game. And so that for me is more disbalancing than allowing someone to buy some credits with some money and get a ship that maybe it would take them 34 hours. But you can still play the game for 34 hours to get that ship. So that's the way I view it. I know that people don't agree with me. That's one of those things where it's like in America, someone's either like a Democrat or a Republican, and no one can ever seem to like agree on anything. It's like religion. So at that point, I'm only going it from my perspective as a gamer. My perspective as a gamer is I really hate being forced to buy things, and I just like the option of I can always earn it in game, and then for me it's just a decision of do I want to earn in game or do I want to shortcut it? And if I can do that, then that's my preference, and so that's kind of why we're setting up Star Citizen that way. And it may be the wrong way to set it up, I don't know, but it's the way I would want it as a game player, and that's usually how I make the choices.
Very good. Are we out of time, or even one more quick one?
Got a minute.
1 minute. All right.
Because it's a minute and a half clip.
All right. So I know that we can set and or reduce power to shields. Could we adjust it to front to rear 50-50 ratio, 60-50 ratio, or full back front?
It totally depends on your shield. So we have different kinds of shields, and some would have more segments. And you should be able to transfer and control the energy to your various shield segments. So like if you had a much bigger shield that had like say 6 segments, you could be balancing it between all 6 segments if you wanted to.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for talking to me and answering all of our questions.
Good.
That's quite awesome.
Very good questions.
You're very
well
popular.
formed. You definitely were in the 860K.
Well, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. I really do.
Send us an email so we can get that out to you.
Yeah, of course. Just support at?
Yep, exactly.
You'll see me there. All right. See you guys in the verse.
See you in the verse.
Oh, man, we just got a bunch of spams to support.
Talk to you all later.
Later. Bye.
Hey,
internet.
guys.
All right.
Still awake.
I picked the right 3.
Chris is still awake too.
Yeah.
Hello, internet.
All right.
Still awake.
Hang on. Yeah, let's mute that and let's pause the stream. Pause. Wow, let's mouse on this suckiest. How could you ever like game on this? Seriously. You're wired down there on the red.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to go. There you go. All right. And Skype. All right.
Good go.
Watching myself in time lag is troublesome.
Yeah, it's
Kinda weird.
Yeah, the Skyper guy, he'll be here shortly. We're communicating.
All right. Agante, you're feeling a little more like slightly kind of late night delayed punch drunk.
We're tired.
Yeah.
We're 3 hours ahead. 2 hours, actually.
2 hours ahead, yeah. Yeah, what time is it here? Yeah, so it's for you like 1:30.
Yeah.
Feels like it's 3:30.
Yeah, well, because you guys have been going since 11. And how
We've been
many-
partying since 11.
How much booze have you drunk?
Yeah, where's the mason jar at? Can we see?
They're all back there.
Stacked up and empty?
No, one of them's half full, the other one's full, and then a little bit out of the one that's a jug and not a jar. So yeah, we still have most of it. It would seem.
What's the moonshine?
Yeah.
You should probably move that plastic bag a little closer to the mic.
Yeah, that's probably not the best place to actually have the.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're.
Just drove every dog wild.
Hold on, let me mute some stuff here.
Is that?
Oh, we have a person. Do we want to? Let's.
It's gonna be done.
Yeah.
It'll be done for
Hello?
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Oh.
Hey, that's you.
How are y'all doing tonight?
We are doing good. So where are you calling in from?
I am currently in North Carolina, though I am a native Austinite.
Very cool. So what are you in North Carolina? Are you out there for job, work, school?
I am military. I'm stationed at Fort Bragg.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, that's a pretty that's a big deal out there, right? Fort Bragg's
It's huge.
Is that the biggest military base I think in the U.S.?
People-wise, I believe it is. Not by like land coverage.
Yeah, was it probably one of those crazy ones in probably Nevada somewhere?
Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't remember which one it's. I think maybe Hood actually.
What's that? Fort Hood, you said?
I think that may be land-wise the biggest, but don't quote me. I'm sure somebody will hop on the chat and tell me how horribly wrong I am. Somebody's on Wikipedia right now,
Yeah, or someone at one of the bases because we pretty we got a pretty awesome support on all the armed forces on Star Citizen. So.
Yeah, I saw the guys there in Austin. I don't know if they're still there right now, but brought in their kit so that Eric could work out in it, I think.
Yeah. We got Air Force here, so and I think we had a bunch of X. Well, you were Marine, and a few other X. Yeah. So anyway, so thank you very much for backing Star Citizen. So just out of curiosity, when did you find out about it? When did you back it?
I'm actually a relatively late backer. I didn't find out about it till May. That's when I originally backed. Just bad timing. When back in October, I was going through selection for PsyOp, which is what I'm doing now. And then, so as soon as I got picked up for that, it was PCS, and I was in Alaska at the time. So, I was straight from Alaska to here to airborne school to back to here. So
what's PCS? Just for my
permanent change of station. So that's when the military moves you from one post to another. It's not as permanent as it sounds.
Right. Okay, cool. Well, no,